What up, what up, what up? It's your girl, Angelina Watkins, and your boy,
Mike
Michael
Montgomery.
Montgomery. Whoa! Y'all, I'm so excited. I know y'all, if y'all been paying attention, y'all saw my post. Michael is here. He's a permanent fixture, y'all. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. I feel like 2021 is going to be the bomb year because I'm already headed with big changes bringing on Michael. Michael, thank you so much. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the Think Outside the Red Box family. We are so happy to have you here. How does it feel?
Well, it feels good, Miss Angelina Watkins.
I'm so glad. I was elated when you said yes. I just, I know I had to keep my composure, but it was hard to keep my composure. But I'm so glad that you're joining us. Now, y'all, my co-host, Dion Coates, is not here. She probably will be joining us shortly. But Michael and we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. So, I always got a few announcements to make. And before we get started, because I don't want to wait too long getting into this topic, because the conversation was so good last week. And I thank you all for your participation. And so, again, you always know I like it when you talk to me. I like it when you participate. I don't want it just to be us talking. If you got questions, you got feedback, join in. You know how we roll up here and think outside the red box. But anyway, let me get my announcements first, and then we'll get started with the conversation. So let me share my screen. I just want to remind you all. Girl Get Up is this Friday, okay? January 8th at 8 p.m. Girl Get Up. We will be talking about releasing the hurt, reclaiming your identity, and regaining your power. No, I said that backwards. How did I say that backwards? I'm sorry. You're going to be releasing your pain, reclaiming your power, and regaining your identity. I switched them. My bad. But y'all need to register. It's no cost. It's a free event, but please come join us. I promise you, if you like Think Outside the Red Box, you're going to love Girl Get Up. It's going to really be a good night. We're going to be talking about some things, okay? We're going to be talking about how to release pain, okay? How to process that pain, how to break these cycles, the things we're going to be talking about, your plan for pain in order to get over those things that have been holding you back. So I'm going to teach you. I'm going to share, I'm going to empower, and I'm going to teach you. And you're not going to leave that hour of power the same. I promise you. So make sure you register, because you do have to register. It's not a public event. So you do have to register in order to get the information to join the call. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Let me stop sharing. Michael,
Yes.
I got a lot on my mind.
Let's hear it.
Breaking cycles. Ever since we talked last Monday, um, it's been a lot, okay? And one of the questions I got outside of Think Outside the Red Box was, how do you really break free? Well, they didn't say break free, but I'm going to say break free. How do you really break free from a cycle and keep it long lasting? Like, they wanted to know, and so I want to make sure we talk about this tonight. That's one of those things that's on my mind. How do you really break free from a cycle and not go back? Because this is the new year. People make these New Year resolutions, and by the end of January, they're right back to their old way. And we've got to talk about that. We got to talk about how to not go back to the old way. How can we transition from point A to point B? That's what I want to talk about tonight. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely.
All right. What's your thoughts? I got a lot of thoughts, but I like to share the mic.
Okay. I appreciate it, Or I could just sit here and be Vanna White and just turn letters for you, whatever
No,
whatever you need.
no.
No, so first an analogy, breaking the cycle or breaking free of a cycle, it's like when a large ship is sunk in the ocean. They tell you got to get away, get far away, because as it goes down, it inherently pulls everything with it in its orbit. It's going to pull you down. So even if you've gotten away a little bit, the pull is so strong, it's going to suck you down with it. So that's the analogy of breaking free of a cycle. You have to get far away from the cycle. Sometimes getting far away means geography, it means mindset, it means emotional stability and well being. It means going to get help mentally, saying, look, this is my old patterns and I want some new ones. Why do I keep going back? So there's this thing in family therapy called a genogram. Genograms are different from a family tree. It shows uh is usually three generation, and it shows your grandparents, your parents, and it shows you and your siblings, your parents siblings, and it shows different patterns. Some of this is, a lot of it is unbeknownst to us. Why do I do what I do? Because this has been something in my family that has just been handed down. Again, it's what we've been nurtured into, it's what we've been cultured into, it's what we've been experienced into. We see it all the time. It's what we know as our quote unquote norm. So when you're breaking a norm, it is so difficult because the cycle itself, as it spins, it wants to bring you back in, because you leaving the cycle, it weakens it, and it doesn't want to be weakened. It want to be strengthened. So it continues to gain more and more entities to keep the pattern going, because the pattern again is so strong. It's 2, 3, 4 generations strong. So that's why I say you're not going to break the cycle. You could break free. So get far away from it, both physically, emotionally, psychologically, even spiritually. Some people have just said, you know what, I can't even go to church with these people because they're some of, and I don't even care if it offends people. They're some of the phoniest, most hypocritic people that I know. In church, they yelling, screaming, God is good. But after church, they won't go see about the poor. They won't go see about the sick. They won't call their brothers. So you want to get far away from that type of thinking. Hypocrites are some of the biggest people that bring you down. So get away emotionally, psychologically, physically. Get
Okay, well,
away.
let's break this down, because that's a lot, and I feel like they all go together. I feel like you can't just do one and think you're going to
Right,
break free. And so
right.
you mentioned changing the environment, right? Getting away, getting out of that environment. And so can we talk about that just a little bit? I like to kind of break these things down for them that are watching. So you have your environment, but breaking free from your environment, does that always necessarily mean that I need to move to another city? I need to move to another state, or does it just mean I need to just set some boundaries, and the people that I've been hanging out with, I just don't hang out with them no more, or I love them from a distance, or only tolerate the family functions once a year? Like, what does that look like when we say change your environment?
Well, for some, it really does mean getting far away. Example, I had a client, he both had mental illness and he had substance abuse. So he went home on weekend pass and he came back so upset. He said, Mike, my family know that I'm in this program. I'm trying my best to maintain my sobriety. They were having a get together and every one of them was saying, hey, drink this, smoke this, do this. And he was saying, look, y'all, I'm in treatment. I can't do this. Oh, you think you're better than us? Oh, now you don't do this no more. This how we get down. And the pull was so strong to literally, he said, Mike, I can't go back there anymore. Just an example of he really had to get away. Remember, the cycle is very, very, very strong. The pull of it, it does not want you to get away. It does not want you. So as long as you swimming close to that sinking ship, it's going to inherently pull you down. So yes, I say for some, you got to move. And I mean that geographically, because it's hard to move uh, emotionally when you're surrounded by the same old, day in, day out. And the propensity to go back to that same habits is strong. So you have to really break free. And that's
Well,
just the
I feel
truth.
like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
I was
I feel
done.
like in that scenario, somewhere in there, this person had already begun to strengthen their mental and strengthen their emotional to be able to even fight that, right? Because now I'm in this and I know like I can't do it, I can't do it. And they're trying to press you into it and you're like, you know what, I can't do it and I can't even go back. So I have to feel like there's had to been some type of transition in their mental and emotional state to even be able to fight that and say, I'm not gonna go back. Would you agree? That he had already began a transition that made him strong enough to even recognize, but what makes a person say, you know what, I'm just not going back. Like what makes them mentally and emotionally so strong that they're like, I just can't do it. I just don't. They thinking about what used to be. They thinking about what was going on when those things happen and the consequences. Is it that they see that this is really not going to benefit me? Do they see something else that they're focused on that's better? Like, how do you make that mental emotional transition from this is going to be better than this? Does that question make sense?
It
Um,
does.
okay.
So, as a refresher from last week, remember I said when the cycle no longer benefits you, when it's actually to your detriment, when a man has lost multiple women because he can't stop cheating and he really wants to be in a monogamous, intimate, loving relationship, and yet he continues to just I can't stop cheating. So it's no longer benefiting him. He's lonely, he's sad. And I'm just using that as an example. So when the cycle no longer benefits you, then the reality sets in that I have to, for my survival, I have to do something different. So it's kind of chicken or the egg. Did the guy get strong and decide to break free? Did it not no longer benefited him, which caused him to break free? I can't answer that. It's case by case. But when it stops benefiting you, you really, really are now encouraged, inspired, and strengthened to do something different because I'm not getting what I used to get, which could be a high. It could be love, admiration, respect, power. I can't get that anymore. I have to get out of this system. This system is just like a siphon. It's just sifting out everything good in me. And you don't want to be like that anymore.
So I just want to share something because I was preparing today, and when I was thinking about what we're talking about today, I'm going to share a Get Up Girl program exclusive. Y'all are about to get a sneak peek into some things that are in my teaching that I have not necessarily shared, but I really wanted to share this because I was working on talking about breaking cycles, and breaking cycles, I said I talked about and I was training about the Pharaoh cycle and the Goliath syndrome.
Hmm.
So I call it the Pharaoh cycle and the Goliath syndrome. That's the two things that we're dealing with when we're trying to break a cycle. Okay. And so the Pharaoh cycle is that hard thing, right? So you had Israel, who was strong, powerful, prosperous. Pharaoh was jealous. He was jealous and he feared them. So he mentally oppressed them in order to overtake them and enslave them. And in this, he found out that they were gonna there was gonna be a king born among the Hebrews that was gonna be his demise. So in order to keep his power, he wanted to kill all of the Hebrew children, right? And then so his mom put Moses in the river, and unbeknownst to Pharaoh, his daughter finds the baby. She raises the baby. He helps raise his enemy. Now, Moses gets older. He ends up killing an Egyptian, and now he flees for his life because they're after him for killing an Egyptian. And while he's in exile, God comes to him from a burning bush, tells him, I want you to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go. Moses goes to let the people go to Pharaoh to ask him to let the people go. And it's a whole bunch of back and forth, right? Let my people go. No. Let my people go. No. Well, I'll let my people go. Well, only if this and only if that, right? We get this negotiation, and Pharaoh keeps acting like he's going to let the people go. And he doesn't. He pretends to let them go, and he doesn't. I'm going to have to pause right there. I'm so sorry, y'all. We're going to bring Dion in. Welcome, Dion.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I know this, y'all, just in the middle of the story just stopped. But Dion, I almost wore that shirt. I had on that shirt earlier today, and I changed my clothes so I can look dapper with Michael. Welcome, Dion. Welcome.
Girl, I'm still having issues. Okay. There we
All right, let me finish the story. So,
I'll tell you where you was at. You was at the part where Pharaoh was kicking tail and taking names. Okay, keep going.
So they're doing these negotiations, and he pretends like he's gonna let them go, but he really doesn't let them go, right? And then eventually he lets them go, but then he chases them to the Red Sea. Israel goes to the Red Sea unscathed. Pharaoh drowns in the sea. Now, Pharaoh is that hard thing. He's that hard thing that you just can't get away from. It just won't let you go, or you won't let it go. It's either hard, your heart is being hardened, right? Or this is this hard thing that you just can't let go of. And it keeps being that cycle. You know, 1 minute you're gone and the next minute you're back. And 1 minute you're gone and the next minute you're back. And you keep going through that vicious cycle that Moses was going through with Pharaoh of let go, no, let go, no. Okay, I'm gonna let go. No, I'm gonna come back. No, I'm gonna let go. No, I'm gonna come back, right? And then you have that part of the cycle where Israel actually got through the Red Sea. They're in the wilderness, but then they wanted at times to go back. They wanted to go back because they were in fear of where they were going. They thought they weren't going to get what they needed. And now they're stuck mentally and trying to get back to something that they let go of. Vicious cycle. And in that Pharaoh cycle, the only way to get out of that cycle is God. God, you need God. God has to deliver you. God has got to send that person who's going to lead you out, help you transition, walk you through the journey to Canaan land. But at some point, you've got to be able to do this thing on your own, because even Israel had to cross over Jordan into Canaan on their own. Moses didn't take them. Moses led them, but he had to tell them, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. He got to give them instructions, and then they did it. Right. So that's what I call that Pharaoh cycle, that hard thing that keeps pulling you in, and you just can't break through. You're going to need God. You're going to need God to send someone to help you, deliver you, whether that is a therapist, whether that's a coach, a mentor, a pastor, a teacher, I don't know, somebody who's going to help you be able to do that transition.
You know, Angelina. Oh, well, first thought, I'm looking for the collection basket. Girl, you need some offerings for that. Go ahead and preach, Sister Watkins. No, that was a absolutely wonderful analogy. It is hard. It is difficult. And one of the takeaways is that he pursued them. That's what the cycle does. The cycle don't want to let you go. It doesn't, because in that story and in that analogy, he was losing free labor. You know, his wife
Yeah.
said, "You gonna let these people go?" And you know, they doing all this hard work. So the cycle says, "Man, you gonna let Angelina break free? Man, you know, we need her in this cycle. She could perpetuate that because it could get passed down now to your daughter and your other daughters, you know." So the cycle itself is they say it insists upon itself, which means it wants to continue to go and it wants to grow. It does not want to stop. I mean, look at some people, no matter what they face, they don't want to stop because it benefits them. So when it stops benefiting you, you are now ready. And yes, it takes God the Father to help you leap over a high wall. Without him, it is extremely difficult. And without evangelizing, you know, I know this is a Christian base. I get it. I really do. But there are some of us non-believers and non-Christians. Uh, it takes effort, and it takes something greater than yourself inspiring you to keep going, because self wants to go back to that thing that's easy, comfortable, and familiar. It was a strange land that they were journeying to. They knew Egypt, and you know the old saying is better the devil you know than the devil you don't. So some people said, "Hey, at least I know it Pharaoh. You know, he may whip us and beat us and halfway kill us, but we're gonna get three hots in a cot. I can handle that." Well, somebody say, "I want more than three hots in a cot."
So let's stay right there, because before I talk about the Goliath syndrome, let's talk about what you just said, because when we talk about going back, because it's predictability, it's I know how to maneuver around this thing. Let's talk about learning to cope and how we learn to cope with these toxic behaviors, or these in these dysfunctional areas. And then when we try to break free of them, we really don't know what to do, because our coping mechanisms that we've adapted weren't healthy coping mechanisms. Can we talk about that a little bit, about how we learn to cope with the toxicity that we are around? So much so, like with Israel, that you just decide, like, I might as well just go back. At least I knew what day of the week I was going to get smacked. At least I knew, what day of the week he was going to go out cheating, or, at least I know how to work around this. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, we talk about minimizing the threat. Uh, Everybody else outside of the cycle can see how horrible it is, but you minimize it and you justify it. Oh, it's not that bad. My dad, he comes home, him and my mom get into it, and he may hit her a little bit, but if my mom didn't burn the steak, he wouldn't have hit her. It wasn't that bad. We start to minimize, and that's our way of coping. We start saying it's not as bad as it is, and everybody else is looking around saying, "Oh no, it's pretty bad." But we don't want to face that. We want to just stay right there because we are now stuck. So we learn how to cope by minimizing ourselves. You can't even be who you truly are destined to be, who God called you to be, when you're in a toxic system. When you're in a terrible system, you can't even be all you can be, as the Army say, because the system and that cycle is greater than you, when you actually are greater than the cycle. But it's a mental thing, and it makes you believe that you are less than. So we minimize the damage. We minimize what it's doing to us, and we say, it ain't that bad. Well, at least I got it better than these guys. It's that comparative living. So we stay there because it's comfortable.
Okay, so then what you said is just going to bring me to my Goliath syndrome.
Let's hear it.
So, and this goes back to something you were saying earlier too about, how to break free of the cycles about changing your environment, change your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, your identity. I don't know if those are your exact words, but you had said something along that lines. But the Goliath syndrome, I said that is, Goliath was a giant and he wanted to fight Israel one-on-one. There was no Israelite that was willing to fight Goliath. They were scared. So you have David who comes along and he's like, oh, I'll fight him. I'm not scared of him. I'll fight him. And so then they're like, David, what? You can't fight him. You young. You don't know nothing. You don't have no experience. You ain't never been to war. You ain't never fought nobody. You can't do this. And he like, yes, I can. I could do this. I got this. So he goes and he gets his knapsack and he puts some stones in the knapsack, right? And then you have Saul and the others who are trying to give him some stuff. Well, put this on and take this and do this and do that. And you got to think about, he's like, no. That I got this. I don't need nothing that y'all want to give me. I got this, right? And so he goes to Goliath, goes in, takes his stone out, his slingshot, hits him right between the eyes, right? Now you have David. He's young. His mind has not been corrupted. His environment has not just damaged him. It has not made him think that he can't do or be whatever it is that he wants to do or be, right? He has yet to be corrupted in this world. And he has the mentality that I got this. I know what I'm doing. I'm not afraid. Nothing has been put down on the inside of him yet to change the person that God created him to be from the beginning, right? And so Goliath is that giant. It's that hard thing that you don't want to face. It's that thing that intimidates you, that thing that you makes you feel inferior. It's that thing that you feel like you can't defeat. It's that life interruption that you feel like you can't get through, whether it was a job loss or a divorce or maybe a car accident, a death or illness, or you had a major surgery, whatever it may be. It's that life interruption, that hard thing that you're fearing, that intimidates you. You're scared. You don't know how to get it. And that knapsack, your knapsack, those stones in the knapsack are the things that God has put down on the inside of you to be able to fight the giants. But you don't even realize the things that God has put down on the inside of you. Okay, it's your characteristics, your abilities, your street smarts, your book smarts, your talents, your morals, your values, your experiences. It's your oral communication, right? Have you ever met a person that, they just tear somebody up with their words? Like by the time they done talking, you just in tears and ready to go hide, right? That's the stones in your knapsack. That things that God has put down on the inside of you that you need to tap into who you are. You need to tap into your identity. You need to tap into your power. God has already given you everything that you need in order to overcome, in order to defeat that thing. But we want to run and hide, and we don't want to realize what's down on the inside of us and the power that we have to be able to fight that thing. And so I think just sometimes it just goes back to something that you said earlier about just your whole identity of just knowing who you are and what you're capable of doing and the power that you have, and just having that mental and emotional stability to not allow people to defeat you, to make you feel intimidated, to make you feel inferior, right? And so what do you need to break free? You just need you. God gave you. All you need is you. And so I say all the time that God won't do what I don't say it all the time. I stole the quote, but God won't do what you won't do. God does what you can't do. So sometimes we're waiting around for God to do things and it's not happening because God's sitting back like, but I already gave you what you need. I already gave you what you need to do this thing. You need to just do it. I'm not doing it. I gave you the things you need to do it. I'm going to do what you can't do. Those are those Pharaoh things. That's those hard things. But I'm not going to sit here and do what you can do because I put it down on the inside of you. I've given you the abilities to do this thing. That's the Goliath syndrome.
Really
Thought.
good. I don't want to hog up the time. Sister Dion, you have anything to say? Because I have lots of thoughts.
I was just saying, we have to learn how to unbecome. We so content with being who we are, and we so content with the lies that we tell ourselves that we don't recognize sometimes, that we have to unbecome the things that we've allowed because of socially allowed our past from generational things and generational curses. And we talk about our Goliaths and we talk about our Pharaohs, and all those things are generational things that we carry. Some things are catalysts to get us to that point where we're devastated, where we have to make a move. But some things originated years ago, and learning to unbecome some of the lies that we've told ourselves and some of the ways that we think about ourselves is probably key in moving forward and breaking some of the cycles. Other than that, we just keep on repeating the same cycle. We could be in the same cycle for decades and not ever um, reach that pinnacle where we feel like it's time to move forward, and always blaming the wrong people instead of understanding where we are, where we need to be, and where we need to go. Sometimes we just stay in that current mindset because it's easy and it's comfortable, and we used to the discomfort, and we used to operating in disorder. It's the norm. So we allow it to be our norm instead of getting the help that we need from others, or psychological help, or just going deep down within ourselves and recognizing, hey, I don't like that man in the mirror. It's not showing up the way it needs to show up. They're not showing up or doing what they need to do to be, like you said, Angelina, self-sufficient. So I think sometimes going back to Pharaoh's house and living with Pharaoh is easy because that's what we're accustomed to. We're accustomed to the disorder. We're accustomed to be beaten up and browbeat and battered and abused. 3 meals in a cot. We're accustomed to that. It's no effort in that. That's easy life, easy street. So we think in our minds until we realize once we break free that God does have a better plan, and he will see us through it if we just use a little bit of our brain power and break away from the cycle.
Yeah. So Goliath, like you said, this ultimate. I mean, he was not a novice. He had more kills than all of them put together. He was a giant. He was experienced. The beauty of David was, sometimes they say ignorance is bliss. David didn't even know that he should be afraid of him. But all those other ones, it was paralysis by analysis. Oh, I heard he killed this many people. I heard he could do this. I heard he could do that. So sometimes we overanalyze the great, beyond, like they said, the early settlers, they had to overcome their fear that the world was flat. If you sail too far, you're gonna fall. Somebody had to say, "Wait a minute." I just don't think that's the way it is. So you have to move beyond your comfort zone. So sometimes when someone new, unbeknownst to them, join a cycle, say they married in, and the first thing they say is, "Wait a minute, what you mean we gotta go over your mama's house for dinner every Sunday?" I'm a grown man. I want to have dinner at my own house. Oh, no, 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 no. We all go over mama's house. See, they want him or her to join that cycle. But when he stands up and like, what's she going to do if we don't? We grown. What's she going to do? Whoop us? The thought that we don't have to go over mama's house for dinner on Sunday never enters their mind because they've been doing this cycle for so long to where they don't even know that they can be an individual. You could think You can think for yourself. You don't need the whole family to think for you. But that cycle will not let you break free. And I use the analogy of the greater than equal to. When trauma, greater than, less than, equal to, sorry. When trauma arises in your life, it makes you feel less than. But God has already equipped you with everything you need, like you said, Angelina, that makes you greater than. You're greater than your trauma. You're greater than people talking about you. You're greater than people who wants to hurt you and defame you and treat you as you're nothing. And you're equal to your destiny, whatever it is. You're up for the challenge. He's already provided those 5 smooth stones inside of you to defeat every Goliath that you're going to face in life. And I love it when he says about faith. Sometimes it's the faithless, but he told us to be faithful over a few things, and he was going to make us ruler over many things. And he told us faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You don't even see it inside of you, but just have faith that is there. And he said he's not going to put more on you than you can bear. But with the temptation, he's also going to make a way for you to escape, that you may be able to bear it. You got this. If it's something that you can't bear, he's not even going to bring it to you. But you got to believe that. So our belief fails us, our faith fails us, and then the enemy just continues to be like that sinking ship, and it just sinks us lower and lower until we go down. So I'm saying you got to have something inside of you that says, I'm greater than. I'm greater than my trauma. I'm greater than this man who left me with 4 kids and he went with Susie that's 20 years younger than me. Who cares? Who cares? You know, beauty, I love it. Like Judge Judy says, beauty is skin deep. But she said, dumb is forever.
No, my mom used to say ugliness is all the way to the bone.
All the way, all the way.
All right. So while you were talking, Michael, this is what I heard. The first cycle that needs to be broken is that cycle of limiting beliefs about yourself. Those limiting beliefs, that inner critic, that noise in your head constantly telling you what you are not, what you can't do, what you can't be, where you can't go, because we done listened to everyone else for so long trying to control our lives, trying to tell us how to think, tell us where we need to go, tell us how we need to dress, tell us where we need to live, tell us where we need to work and what our career should be. And we've lost thinking for ourselves. And the first thing that we need to do is break that mental cycle of unbelief in ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
let
that's the
me share this
first
too when we
break.
talk about David. Let's go back to David for a minute and his shiny stones, and go back to the Bible when the Bible talks about come as a child at heart. David, although he was young and very childlike, he was also very skillful. Let's not forget that he was skillful. He knew how to operate stones and how to make them fly. It's an art with that. We think it's not an art to that. It was an art to that. That's why he wasn't scared of the giant, because he was confident in his ability. And a lot of times we're not confident in our abilities to tear away or break away from some things. David didn't need anybody else to tell him what to do, because he had already practiced that thing for the short amount of time that he was here on earth. He was very skillful. And I think a lot of times we don't recognize the skill that we have to break away from some of these things that keep us bound. So it keeps us in that rotating cycle that we never break free from, because we don't recognize how much we've practiced it and how much we made it a part of us, instead of yielding to the giftings and abilities that God has given us.
Yeah. I a quick story I learned a long time ago was about the one arm karate champion. And as the story go, and I'll be brief, it says that he was just defeating everybody by the same move, one after another. Boom. First round, second round, third, fourth. Finally, he was in the championship, and that champion had won it 3 years in a row. and he pinned him and won in like 30 seconds. So the one man in the crowd says to his sensei, tell us, how in the world did this one-armed man beat every guy he faced? He said, because the one move that could defeat him was you have to grab his left arm. He didn't have a left arm. So his weakness became the thing that made him great. So your weakness sometimes could be your greatest attribute, but he didn't see it as a weakness. He saw it as an advantage. So whatever you're facing, see it as an advantage and not just a weakness, or there's something wrong with me. Maybe there's something really right with you. And anxiety is always about the what if, but what if something bad happens? That's what anxiety is all about. What if I go to work and they tell me I'm fired? What if I go to church and they don't like my dress? Well, what if you go to work and they give you a promotion? What if you go to church and they say you got the prettiest dress in the whole church? But our minds, when we're in an anxious state, don't let us think about the positive. All we do is focus in on the negatives, which perpetuates everything that we think about ourselves. I am less than. I tell females all the time, you could be the belle of the ball, you could be the prettiest girl, but if you have low self-esteem, that man don't care if you look like Whoopi Goldberg. But if you have confidence out of this world, he goes for you every single time. I'm telling you, confidence in one's own ability can get you just about anything you want in life, whether you're degreed or not, because you're confident that whatever is put before you, you can do it. And if you've ever met a really confident person, not an arrogant person, a confident person, they're so confident, they make you feel confident. Those are the people you should surround yourself with, not the ones that's constantly talking about the people on the job or how everything is against them. Everything is not against you. Everything is a test. And all you need is to pass it, and then you will have a testimony of how I got over. Say, my soul looks back and wonder how I got over. But you did. You made it because you believe you could do it. Them children at the Red Sea, one day scared, one day afraid.
They were scared.
What did Moses?
They were scared.
What did
They
Moses
saw
tell them
Pharaoh
to do?
coming.
He said, stand still and see the salvation. So in our terms in 2021, stand still, shut up, and watch what I do. Just get behind me and follow. And this wise lady once told me when I was young in my 20s, she said, if you lead, somebody will follow. She said, but Michael, the question is, where are you leading them to? So just lead, be a leader. God gave you that ability to lead, even if it's leading yourself beside the still waters. Go around it. Them stagnant waters, they're disease. Get out of that pond. Go get you a new pond.
All right. We're going to pass the offering plate for you too, Michael. You're going to make us talk in some tongues in here, okay?
Watch yourself, girl. Watch me. Watch me.
I think it's so true, though. And so, I mean, I hope our listeners out there are getting something from this. And I hope you're understanding that if you really want to break free of some cycles, it's going to start with you. It's going to start with you believing in yourself and just knowing that where you are is not where you have to be. You know, where you are is not where you have to stay. And God has already put these things down on the inside of you. You don't have to be afraid. I like what, and I want to go back to what you were saying, Michael, about anxiety. All of the what ifs, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I've said in a Facebook Live before that, you know, it's okay to think about the what ifs. It's just don't get stuck in the what ifs. You know, we have to be like God. God was a planner. And some people ain't gonna like what I'm about to say, but God was a planner. He was very strategic, and God had plan Bs. Okay. We think that, oh, God has one plan, and no, God has a plan. He says, I want to get to Florida, but you went a different way. So now I got to get you back over, right? He's got to have a plan B because he wanted you to go this way, but you was being Jonah and you went this way. So now he's got to have a plan B to get you from over here to back to where I wanted you to go. Right. And so what ifs is just planning for a plan B. This is what I want to happen. This is what I'm working for. This is where I'm going. And if it doesn't happen this way, this is what I'm going to do to minimize my derailment so that I can get back where I'm supposed to be and continue going. And so in project management, I'm a project manager by day. And in project manager, that is one of the things we have to think about. You are not going to plan out no project without having what we call a risk management plan. And a risk management plan is nothing but a what if plan. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if they don't get this done on time? What if this ends up costing more? What if? We don't care about the what ifs. We know the goal ahead, where we're going. This is where we need to be. If this happens, we're going to do this so we can get right back on track. And that's how we have to be with our lives. When we think about these what if, we got to look at them and say, okay, this could happen. If that happens, I'm going to do this to resolve it. And then I'm going to get back on track. But we get stuck over here with not figuring out how to resolve this. We get stuck over here not figuring out a solution. And we got to start being more solution oriented, right? That's the way you're going to overcome. Overcoming in breaking free is about solutions. It's about thinking about, how can I get out of this? How can I overcome? What are the resources available to me? What are the possibilities that of the things that I could do in order to overcome, and not get stuck over here in this risk management plan and you never finish the other plan. Okay, so we have to be solution driven and start asking ourselves more often, well, what can I do? I tell you, I had a manager, and our relationship was rocky at first, but I love her now. I just absolutely love her because I learned so much from her. And the one thing she always says when we have projects or problems, she says, well, what can you do? And it's like, now I just hear it all. What can you do? Stop thinking about what you can't do and just ask yourself, well, what can I do? What do I have the ability to do? What do I have the capacity to do? What do I have the wisdom and the talents to do? And that's what you focus on in order to try to get yourself out and overcome and defeat this thing that has you stuck. All right, that was my tangent. In case you didn't know, Michael, I go off on tangents.
No, no, Angelina, as you're talking, seriously, it inspires me to something else. And now that I'm a little bit older than 40, I can't remember as I once did, so I have to type it in on my phone. Girl, I'm old. Oh no, I was thinking about your risk management analogy. It's beautiful. Your project management, and it reminds me that when you're attempting to break free, first it has to be it have to form a thought. So they call it forming and then storming. You have to go through some rocky times. And then, after the rocky times of the storming, then the norming. Okay, this feels normal. I'm out of the cycle. Now it's time to perform. What am I going to do? So somewhere in there, we get stuck, whether it's in the, what do we call it, the forming, whether it's, before you could break a cycle, you really have to give it some honest thought. I really want to do this. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to get up? Because it's not serving me anymore. It's not benefiting me. I got to get out of here. And one of the worst positions to be in is stuck. I'm just stuck. So don't get stuck in the forming. Don't get stuck to just thinking. You drive yourself crazy. And then don't get stuck in storming. Oh my God, it's just too hard. All I'm doing is fighting. Keep moving. It's part of the process. And yes, the Lord is someone that could come up with multiple plans. And he's also someone who is flexible. We always trying to preach about a rigid God. He's very flexible.
Very flexible.
Yeah, he's someone that could work with whatever you give him. If you give him a lump of clay, guess what God's going to do with it? He's going to mold it and shape it in his own way. And if it comes out to where it's marred, as long as it's marred in his hand, he will chop it right back down to a lump. And guess what he's going to do? He's going to start forming it again. If that's not plan A, B, and C, I don't know. So I'm saying stop worrying about your failures. You learn a lot more in your failures than oftentimes your successes, because sometimes when we're successful, we think we got it all down. Well, that's someone who's always making some mistakes, know that they got to keep trying. So, breaking free of cycles is difficult, but it's worth it, because in the end, you're going to feel better. And don't get bitter and say, oh, I spent so much time. It is what it is. But just be better and do better, and you will live better, both naturally, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and really, when it's all said and done, spiritually, which controls everything else I just said. When your spirit is good, your outlook is good.
Yeah, Michael. So, one of the things we do in project management also is we always talk about lessons learned. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I teach, that, our bad decisions, our mistakes, our what we consider failures are not really failures. Okay. They're learning lessons. They're supposed to be a footstool to get you to the next level, but we get stuck in what we didn't do right. And we don't look at the lesson that God was trying to get to us so that we can use that in the next level that he has in our life. And so then we get stuck, because again, our brain is only thinking about what we didn't do, what we couldn't do, and woe is me. And we don't ever look at what was God trying to get to me, what was God trying to teach me. What we thought was a failure should have made, it was there to make us stronger and prepare us for the next lesson and the next level and the next test. But we didn't pass the test because we never moved. We got stuck and we stayed where we are. And so when we do our projects, one of the things is when we get through a project, we always go back and we say, okay, what was the lesson learned? What did I learn? What were the mistakes I made? What did I learn from that? So that on the next project, I don't repeat that. What was an unknown that I didn't plan for or didn't even think about that we had to work out so that I can make sure that in the next project, it doesn't happen. And that's what we're supposed to do with our lives, right? When we go through things and we have our hurts and our pains and we have our setbacks and our life interruptions, we're supposed to go back and look at those scenarios and look at those situations and look at those experiences and say, all right, what did I learn from this? What can I do next time so that when I go to this level, I'm not faced. This is that Goliath I've gotten over. It's dead now. I'm over it. I've endured. I made it through. What do I need to learn? Put it in my knapsack and move on. Right. And we've got to start asking ourselves that and realizing that our failures are really victories. Unless you die, unless you are 6 feet deep, that's the victory. It's a victory. Learn from it and use that lesson to improve your life.
Mhm.
All right. Another one of my tangents. We're almost at the top of the hour. What's do you all have any last thoughts that you want to give the people about breaking free?
Miss Dion, ladies first.
I know she just is smiling, so I don't know why she don't go ahead and speak. I see it all up in here. She's just ready.
I don't know. Look like she buying something on eBay.
No, I only wish. No, just I mean, and everything you guys have said tonight is so true. We live our lives out loud, and we don't recognize that we teach who we are. Um, Sometimes some of the things we teach is not prolific enough. It's not what we're supposed to be teaching, and because we've adapted certain ways and certain cycles, we keep on perpetuating those cycles and teaching them to our children, and they keep on bringing them forth, and we wonder, why are our kids doing these things, or Why does the cycle keep on breeding itself? And it's because we don't ever decide to break the cycle and recognize that we can teach something different. That's one of the things that I love to say. You teach who you are. And if you don't like how you show up and what you're teaching, we have the opportunity to teach something different. And that means it's going to require something of you. It's going to cost you something. And we have to be willing to pay whatever price it is to break free from the cycles and not allow those chains to keep us bound so that we're not free to move and have our being like God initially designed, and stop making excuses for the cycles that we allow ourselves to stay in because we don't understand, number one, that God is trying to get us something and trying to get something to us so that we can give back to the world. We just haven't figured it out yet. And once we figure that out, we're going to be powerful. So if you don't like who you are and you don't like what you're perpetuating or what you're teaching to the world, here's your opportunity today to say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to teach a different me, a different version of who I am. If it's to your family, if it's to your friends, if it's to your loved one, if it's to that dude that even broke your heart, teach him that you can show up different this time, because trust me, you there was some things in that relationship that you added to as well. It wasn't all his fault. We have to learn how to take responsibility, and sometimes we just don't want to do that. It's going to require something.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
So lastly, I want to say, breaking free of a cycle, it is difficult. No one here is making light of that. We understands that this is not uh, a 30-day process, a 6 months process. It's going to take a while because these cycles have been around for two and three generations. So to break free of something, it's going to take effort. But look at where you're at, and then ask yourself, where do I really want to be? And is this cycle that I'm perpetuating, is it helping me? Is it hurting me? Is it causing me joy, or is it causing me pain? And if it caused the latter, then I say to you, do something about it. Knowing that you're going to go through some hard times. There are individuals in your cycle right now, whether it's family, friends, job, whatever, who do not want you to break free. So they're going to do all they can to pull you back. You have to learn how to let dead weight go. It only pulls you down. Ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. Look for somebody else who's outside of your cycle who could tell you, girl, that just not the ones who just want to be gossip mongers, but those who really have your best interests, who want to say, girl, you can do better. Let me help you do better. Let me walk it with you to the end. Find that good friend, that true friend who ain't just gonna agree with all your shenanigans, but who gonna hold you accountable too and say, girl, you tripping. You need to stop right now, bruh, what you doing? No, I'm not going along with that one. You better than that. Then once you make up on your mind, remember you have to get away uh sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. You have to get away. The cycle itself is going to continue to try to suck you back in. Get far away from it. If not, you'll be right back in it. And if you do get back in it, keep trying. They say in substance abuse, you have to go through it. It seems like the average is 7 times before you truly break free. I say, I don't care. They had to march around Jericho how many times before the walls came down? 7 times. Keep marching. Just keep moving. And don't let nobody stop you, not even yourself. You're gonna have some doubt. Push through the doubt, push through the haters, and come on to the other side. Like Moses did through the Red Sea. You can make it. And that's my 2 cents for tonight. I really appreciate being with y'all. It is an honor and a privilege. I always say, be humble, be kind, and most of all, be healthy.
And I'll just say, um, get rid of those limiting beliefs. Believe in yourself. Okay. Make your risk management plan and then keep it moving. Be unbothered. See you next time. We'll see you next Monday, 8 p.m. Don't forget, we are half an hour later,
Peace.
8 p.m. Thank
Stay in
you.
peace, not in pieces.